Well, I noticed a lot of new faces this evening, and I'm so glad you all came. And I want you to know that this is a safe place to share. So if you want to tell us your story, there'll be no judgment.
Hi, my name is Charlie, and as you know, and hopefully you remember, I have a problem. I'm addicted to cars. And yes, I am still addicted to cars. No, I haven't done any videos for a minute, but the car addiction has not stopped. Just had a bunch of things going on. More focus needed to be put on work in the last couple months. So, yeah, no excuses. Just haven't posted. But I do have a lot to share. And one thing I've been stoked to bring up is the fact that I have a new toy. I've got a couple new toys, a couple changes with the car lineup as well. But one new toy that I've wanted for a long time, I've mentioned it on the channel before, and I'm super stoked to finally have. I've had it for a little while, but just haven't had a chance to make a video on it yet. So now I want to share it with you guys. So without further ado, check it out. That's right, finally got my Buick Reatta. This is a 1990 Buick Reatta, 73,000 original miles, so really low miles. This is in the Maui Blue on gray, which is probably my favorite part. Almost every Reatta you find seems to be in red. I mean, there's quite a few other colors, but red is what you see the most of by far. So I looked all over for this Maui Blue because I love it. I also didn't really want a convertible. Convertibles are cool to have and they're fun to cruise around in with the top down, but to be honest, I like the way that the lines on the coupes look. So I looked all over for one of these. The history on these things is pretty brief because they didn't make them very long. So this was a handmade luxury sport coupe. Sport coupe is kind of a difficult interpretation for this because it wasn't really a high performance car, which we'll get more into that. Personal luxury coupe I've heard thrown around, but either way, this was handcrafted in Lansing, Michigan from 1988 through 1991. Only 20,000 of these were made. There was supposed to be, I believe, 30,000 per year made was GM's original plan, but they just didn't sell. They were kind of a bomb, which there were some reasons for it, which I do understand, but man, this is such a beautiful car. I can't believe that it didn't catch on. So basically this was based on a shortened and heavily modified version of the E-body from GM. E-body was used for the Cadillac Seville, the Eldorado, the Oldsmobile Tornado, and especially the Buick Riviera, which was basically the closest cousin to this Reatta, because the electronics in the interior was shared by both cars. During the first 2 years of production, the Reatta featured a touchscreen interface computer, which was way ahead of its time. We're talking a touchscreen computer that controlled the climate control, radio, had like its own onboard diagnostic system. It also had a date reminder, trip computer, and a configurable overspeed alarm, which I'm sure that was very popular. Everybody wants to hear something ringing when they go over the speed limit. But yeah, they only made those computers, or I think they were called the ECC. They only made those for the first 2 years, and then they probably realized that ahead of its time meant that they weren't very easy to maintain or very reliable, so they stopped making them for the 1990 year, which is what this one was. As much as I'd want to have one of those computers because I think they're cool, I can't see those things functioning very long, and they're expensive to maintain or replace. So I purposely tried to find one without that. Some of the reasons why they failed, you know, this was designed in the early 80s or mid 80s when Buick still had some performance cars, some high performance cars like the Grand National. And I think it was originally supposed to be that. I saw in a video somewhere that this was originally designed to have like a high performance engine, and on a light car like this, I mean, it could have been a beast, but GM did not want this competing with a Corvette. So they elected to go with just a 3.8 liter that they used in a lot of GMs at the time, which is a fantastic motor. As far as longevity and maintenance and reliability, these things are actually pretty good, other than all the electronics and stuff inside, because they were, you know, over-engineered when it came to bells and whistles, I guess. But the engine itself is bulletproof. But instead of going the sports car route, which this thing would have been amazing if they had done that, they decided to focus more on the older crowd. Just kind of makes it luxurious and a kind of a cruiser that older people would like, and just stick with an older demographic. The problem with that is it's small, it's a coupe, and it had a lot of bells and whistles that the older folks didn't want. So it was kind of stuck. So the styling and all the cool features and options were attractive to younger folks, but it didn't have high performance, so they wanted something that was faster. And then the older folks that this was supposed to appeal to, they didn't want all those bells and whistles. So, long story short, they sort of outfoxed themselves, GM did, with this car. And they discontinued the car in 1991. which is really sad because, man, this thing looks fantastic. You can see, again, we've got really cool. This interior is really nice still. Gray. Back seat, or not back seat, but back storage area. Kind of like the SL, Mercedes SL that I had. This really reminds me, I'm sure that they had to take some styling notes from that to try to compete with Mercedes, because this would have been right in the demographic that they were going for as far as competition. People who had some expendable income and wanted something just nice, because this is really nice. Have the pop-up headlights. And of course, my favorite view, the thing that makes me smile, I mean the whole thing, I love it. But the thing that really makes me smile is this instrument panel. I mean, that is gorgeous, and every time I'm driving, it's like a time capsule. It takes me back to the 80s, but like what we thought futuristic was going to be in the 80s, with this beautiful digital display. I just absolutely love it. This was the same on a few of the GM cars from the era, but especially the Reatta and the Riviera look like this. Look fantastic. So anyways, yeah, that's my Reatta. I'm back here in the garage because Southern California, it's pretty hot right now, and this does not have AC. The AC actually works, but it probably needs recharged, and I don't want to spend the money to recharge this old system. It needs to be updated to the R134, I think it is, from the R112 or something along those lines. But this had the old type of AC compressor, so it's a different way to recharge it, and they're not very common now, and they're very expensive if you can find it. So rather than pay $400 or I've heard even $500 to recharge this one, I would rather spend the $1,000 or whatever it's going to be to upgrade it, and then from then on you won't have to spend that much to recharge. The other thing is, I may not be keeping this car very long. I really wanted a Reatta. I really wanted this one. I'm so glad that I got it. I've enjoyed it. I still use it pretty much as a daily. I work from home, so I don't need to go very far. I wouldn't want to rack up miles on this car, but I do drive it all the time. I love it. Even though it's hot, I just put the windows down and the sunroof up, and I look at this digital display and I pump up this Delco. Oh, that's the other thing. This stereo system, the GMs from this era, the mid, I don't know about early 80s, but I know at least mid to late 80s, early 90s, they had these Delco stereos, and they were bomb diggity. I loved them. I've always liked them. I liked them when I was a kid. My dad had I think it was a Delta 88, Oldsmobile Delta 88, probably like a 1987 or something like that. And it had awesome bass. I used to love listening to the radio or to my tapes or whatever in that car. It was great. So yeah, this one's got a great stereo system, and I pump it up and I just drive and I feel like I'm in 1990. I mean, I love it. I love it. And never fails when I'm driving in this car. Great 80s songs come on and it just completes. It's like the cherry on top. But yeah, I wanted to experience it, and I did. I have, and I would keep it indefinitely, to be honest, and I still might, but I could really use the funds towards another project that I'm going to be introducing you all to coming up. The Cougar has found a new home. I really liked it, and it was tempting to keep it, but I knew that's not what my end game was. So that one found its way to a new home, and I've got another project which is in some ways much more of a project than the Cougar or this car for sure, but in other ways further along than either. So I can't wait to introduce you to the new edition, but I can't do that quite yet. but it will be coming up very shortly, along with some updates from some of my friends and introducing you to new friends and seeing some of their cars. So I'm looking forward to catching you all up on the goings on of the car glutton, and I hope you all will stick with me. Please like, subscribe, share with a friend. If you know of anybody who's looking for a Buick Reatta, have them hit me up on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram. And if they're in the Southern California area, they can come take a look at it. Other than that, I appreciate you guys watching and coming along, and I'll see you on the next one.